Good afternoon. Whoops, something dropped on the floor. That's okay. Can't wait. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Dr. Maisha here, founder of the Mind ReMapping Academy, and uh, adjusting this one little small lock. There we go. I hope everyone is having a good start to their week. As usual, there's what I had on the menu to talk about, and then there's what I decided I was going to talk about. And today, I want to talk a little bit about what happens when you decide to walk in purpose. Hey, Chicks with MDs, good to see you on here. I, what happens when you decide to walk in purpose? Now, and I'm going to make this quick because I do have a big group coaching session right after this. But what I want to start by saying is, so I want to start with a word about purpose because I hear a lot of people talking about wanting to, hey, Doc, find their purpose or discover their purpose. And there's a lot of frustration that comes around this piece of, like, I'm lost. I don't know what my purpose is, or I can't find my purpose, or I'm just like, I feel, in limbo. I've heard a lot of these types of things along the way during my coaching. And so, the first thing, and also, I've also heard things like, well, I thought this was my purpose, but maybe it's not my purpose because now, and I believe that if you are, um, if you are walking on a path and you are engaging in development and you're growing and you're expanding on a regular basis, purpose can evolve, purpose can shift, purpose can change, right? And if we think about, and I'm going to take it back to a theme that I talk about often, our values and what's important to us, you could say that there is a deeper value which drives us on a maybe an unconscious purpose path, but it's okay to not always consciously know what that purpose is, or for that, or when that purpose evolves, it's okay to pivot and shift. So I wanted to say a bit of, just a very short bit about that, because I think that a lot of times people get lost and get paralyzed in moving and being in action and moving towards in a direction of I don't want to say purpose, a direction in which they are led, because they can't discern whether it's their purpose. Right? And so when we begin to not be so attached to this whole idea of I've got to find my purpose, then we can be open enough to walk the path that we're led on, and on um, many occasions that purpose will be revealed to us. And so I'm going to tell you, over my lifetime, I've had many purpose paths. And I chuckle about it because, when I was young and I said, okay, I'm going to go to med school and be a doctor, and I'm going to heal people, and that's my purpose. And I'm going to heal. And then when I got wind of integrative medicine, the marriage between Western style medicine and different styles, I don't want to say traditional, because traditional could mean a lot of things, but Western style medicine and all various practices of medicine, natural styles of medicine. Then I got, oh, hi, Melvin. Yes, you're welcome. Um, and so I said, I'm going to be a doctor, and this is my purpose. This is what I'm going to do. And then, sometime around the time that I finished residency, and I sort of like discovered that I really loved integrative medicine, I said, okay, I'm gonna teach people how to heal themselves naturally, but I've got the MD, so I'm gonna be able to, I have this side and I have this side, and my purpose is to be able to tell the world and show the world that both can be used at the same time. Well, I mean, I enjoyed that while I did it. I ran a practice for 10 years. I loved it. And then there was a point where something else got unlocked in me, and I don't even know, I couldn't tell you when it was and why it was, but it was a knowing that this wasn't the ultimate thing. Then I discovered that, this thing called burnout, or what we now call moral injury. And I was like, I want to, I want to coach, especially moms in medicine, because I was becoming a new mom and the multiple hats that women and moms wear. And I said, I'm going to coach these docs and get them to love medicine again, get them to love their careers again. And it wasn't long before that evolved. And so I could go on and on, but you get the theme of the story. And what has happened is, what I've learned is that, um, purpose, the purpose and my path has evolved over time. The more I've grown, the more I've learned, and even as my roles have expanded. When I became a mom, something else happened. I, especially as a person who was trained in language and emotional intelligence and communication intelligence and neuro linguistic programming, there was this modeling that I was doing for my son, or that I am still doing for my son. And as he began to develop language, and as he began to develop, we began to develop our dynamic and our communication, I saw something. I saw, and there's this opportunity for all children to have that. And so then I could say that has become my purpose. And and of course, guess what? It could evolve. But what I really want to talk about today is the fact that when you're walking on this path toward a purpose, or toward a something that you're really passionate about, it's not always pretty. I think that there is a myth that when we're on purpose, it feels so good all the time, and we're in the flow, and it just pulled along, and it's like the clouds part, and oh no, that's not what happens. I mean, I what I'll say is that there is a being in the flow. And what will happen is, as you are focused on where you're going, life presents obstacles. Life presents challenges, life presents opportunities for you to expand and grow on that path. So here I am, loving this work that I do, in teaching emotional intelligence, teaching communication, teaching NLP, teaching hypnosis, modeling this with my son as a parent. And I'm very and a lot of the trainings that I do are have parents in them. So I really love this work with kids. However, um, there are sometimes weeks where I am faced with, dynamics between me and my son, dynamics between me and my mom, that open old wounds. And it's painful, right? Because here's the thing, one of the things that I recently have done is I started I'm actually close to the end of a trauma informed, uh, a trauma mitigation class. And I'm always expanding. And in that, we get to understand the nature of trauma. We get to understand some of the behaviors that indicate, that indicate trauma, that we are impacted by trauma. And by the way, everyone has in some place or space in their life been impacted by trauma, by informed by trauma, right? And so, um, this last, I will say, 8 weeks or 6 or 7 weeks that I've been in the course, some things have come up that, have been very painful for me. And just the other day, I was talking with a colleague who was also trauma informed. I was talking with a colleague, a trusted friend. And one of the things that came up is that this is all very timely. Timely is the word that I'll use, because if I experience a dynamic with my parent that opens a wound, and I experience a dynamic with my son that shows me a wound that I may still have open from a parent dynamic, and my goal is to stop the cycle of generational trauma, and that is presented to me, it is very clear the purpose of that interaction, however painful it is. right? So eh, I was able to see this just this past weekend. Like, this is why I do the work that I do, because and this is, I talk about this work that I do with others, but I also apply to self. And I think that is the key to doing great work is as you're doing the work, you're walking the talk, you're applying to self. And so, as I can, it's like clear as day. This is where the trauma gets passed down, and this is the opportunity for me to say the buck stops here, right? And so, um, understanding that this part of my purpose path, and notice I said this part of my purpose path um, presents the obstacles, the opportunities, and even some of the pains um, that allow me to expand and understand and really step into the shoes of others when that time comes. And for me to be able to understand, okay, this is how I inform, this is how I this is how I relate to and I inform when I pass this and pay this work forward. So I share this about me. I share this about my experience to give to you, to have you to contemplate on as you're number one, as you're walking your purpose path, because it is the path, and the path can be is not straight. It's not typically straight. Like the people who have straight paths, boy, they are lucky. And maybe they're not telling you about something about that path. But most of the time, purpose paths are windy. They're windy, they're roller coastery. Yes, I just made that up. They go up, they go down, they go wind around, they do all the things, right? So we have to understand that first, that our purpose path is not going to be a straight line from A to B. It is a journey. And as you walk that purpose path, the purpose can evolve, it can grow, it can expand. But then also, we have to understand that our purpose path is not always going to feel good. And if it doesn't feel good, it doesn't mean that you're on the wrong path. It actually doesn't, it means what you make it mean. However, it really could mean that this is an opportunity for you to dig deeper and to explore and to be curious about, how does this relate to the path that you're on? Is it a lesson that you can use later? Is it a signal to pivot? Because it could be, right? It could be a signal that maybe you pivot in a particular direction on the path. If you're at a crossroads and you're experiencing, pain on one side and a pull or an intuitive pull to the other side, maybe that is a signal. The thing we must do is not hold it all inside, number one. It's good to have community. It's good to have people to run these things by, to support and lift you up, to listen and hear the things that maybe you can't see because what? They're in the blind spot. It's good to have those kind of people around. And when you can have a trusted, committed listener, or a coach, or a therapist, or a community that can give you a different view. I'll tell you one thing. I have an amazing mom community. Shout out to the McStuffin mommies. That if I have a, I would say I became a relatively late mom. And most of my friends have kids that are older than mine, or some of the same age, but older than mine. And I will go to that mom community in a minute and say, is this normal? Tell me your kids do this too, right? So it normalizes um, motherhood and the challenges of, and I'll say parenthood too, because I'm sure there are some dad communities as well, and some, all kinds of parent communities, caregiver communities. So stop doing it alone. Have a committed listener and continue to expand yourself and dig deeper. And if you are at that roadblock, and I talked about a few lives ago, the logical levels of change, right? There's change in environment. You can only elevate your change or your transformation as much as you're willing to go up the logical level. So if you change the environment, it's just the environment. But if you change the behavior, the environment shifts. If you change what you're capable of, you expand your capabilities, then you can actually shift your behavior more. If you start to shift your beliefs and recognize your values and get them aligned, then that informs your capacity to gain more capability and skill. If you start to do things at the level of identity and looking at who you are, who you want to be, who you want to show up as, then it once one exactly, and then it trickles down. Again, if you go to the level of mission, then it expands your capacity to change and transform at this higher level of purpose, right? So when we begin to um, understand, we can expand our knowledge, we can expand our understanding of ourselves, of how we work, of how our mind work, our understanding of other people, our capacity to interact and communicate and find the people in our lives that will support us. We can expand our capacity to see the path, to walk the path, to experiences the challenges, um, and the discomfort of those challenges sometimes, and not do it alone. All of these things, right? When we understand that it's a journey and we're willing to, always be developing ourselves. So that does it for me. That's all I wanted to talk about. That's all I wanted to share today is that, purpose is fluid, and it's unfortunately not always pretty. And at the end of the day, when you're on your purpose path, there there's more fulfillment than there is suffering. More fulfillment than suffering. If you're experiencing more suffering than fulfillment, you might want to take a second look. But on the purpose path, there is more fulfillment than there is suffering. So with that said, I will bid you adieu for the afternoon. I'm going to go run to my large group session. And of course, if you want to know more about what I do in terms of the NLP training, certification, hypnosis training and certification, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to me, whatever platform you're on. Message me. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Doc. You can always message me directly on whatever platform you're on. You can always go to the website, mindremappingacademy.com, if you want to schedule a formal call with me. And if you're an organization and you're thinking, oh, I want you to come and train with me, then you could just reach out to me either on the platform or once again through the website. All right. You'll have an amazing rest of the day and rest of the week. And I will see you next time. Bye.